formally get this started now. Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Peak, and I have the honor of serving as the director of the Natural Hazard Center here in the Institute of Behavioral Science at the University of Colorado Boulder. It is my honor on behalf of the wonderful Natural Hazard Center team that is also joining us today to welcome you to this informational Q&A and discussion session focused on the 51st annual Natural Hazards Research and Applications Workshop, which will be held June 14th through 17th, 2026. So note those dates. That's real. That's not a typo. We are shifting from our traditional July meeting to June in 2026. So we'll be here June 14th through 17th, and then to be followed by the researchers meeting June 17th through 18th, 2026, and the practitioners meeting convened by the National Hazard Mitigation Association on June 18th, 2026. So to begin, we wanted to share a little bit about our long workshop history. And to do that, we wanted to begin with our founding director, Gilbert White's words. He wrote back in 1970, in the early 1970s, that workshops provide a ready opportunity to exchange detailed information and to argue the merits of various perspectives, but they need to be attended by professionals from the full range of disciplines and by policymakers from the various levels of government. And in those few words, Gilbert really captured the enduring purpose of this workshop, which is to ensure that we bring together members of the hazards and disaster field who are concerned with understanding and addressing long-standing issues related to hazard mitigation and disaster risk reduction more broadly, and to ensure that the participants at this workshop do indeed represent a range of diverse perspectives. And that means that the people who attend the workshop must be drawn from a variety of academic, professional, policy, and practice spaces. Next slide, please. Oftentimes, one of the questions that we receive most often is, who attends this workshop? So in 2025, which was our 50-year anniversary, and also our second largest workshop in our center's history, we had a total of 701 people who registered for last year's meeting. And we anticipate and hope that this year's meeting will be similarly large and vibrant. Last year, we did have, I think, a record-setting number of first-time attendees, with about 44% of those in attendance being there for the first time. We also had, as we always strive to ensure, people representing a diverse range of sectors, including academic institutions, nonprofit, local, state, federal, tribal, and territorial government, for-profit or private sector organizations, as well as a variety of other groups, such as professional associations that are oftentimes represented. We also had about a quarter of our attendees were students last year. And so if we could pause for a minute on this slide, if you're on this call today and you will be, if you're able to attend, we hope, if you will be a first-time attendee at the Natural Hazards Workshop, could you please drop in the chat that you'll be a first-timer? And if you're what I like to call a long-timer or a returnee, could you please put in the chat the year when you attended your first Natural Hazards Workshop? And so for me, my first Natural Hazards Workshop was in the year 2000. And so welcome to all of those first timers who are out there, as well as to the soon to be returnees, as well as the more long timers who are out there as well. So, in addition, we also wanted to note that last year we had attendees from 46 of the 50 US states. We had one US territory, Puerto Rico was represented. We hope to get all five this coming year. And we also had participants from 12 additional nations beyond the United States of America. Next slide, please. So, a few workshop traditions that I wanted to share with the participants this morning on this Zoom meeting relate to the following: that the workshop, because it has been around for so long and because we have met for so many consecutive years, we have developed a number of traditions that really have grown out of our purpose and our really our mission to cultivate and to nurture the hazards and disaster community. And so, to that end, a few of the traditions of particular note we wanted to share today. Number one, the people. That first and foremost, there is no workshop without the people who are there. We at the Natural Hazard Center have the honor of organizing this meeting, of hosting it, of convening it, of creating the container in which you all breathe life into the meeting. But in the end, again, there is no meeting without all of you. So the people are at the center. And what that means when we center people and their experiences, their expertise, and their perspectives is that we want to hear from all of the people in the room. And so the workshop's perhaps longest standing tradition is that on Monday morning, every single person who shows up to the opening plenary session will, if they are able, stand up and say their name and affiliation as a way to honor and recognize the diverse range of people who attend this workshop. And we hear year after year that people just cannot believe the range of associations and organizations and institutions that are represented at this workshop. Also, sessions start and end on time, and we're really not kidding. Jeffrey Gunderson here at the center rings the bell to get everybody into their seats on time, and we also end all sessions on time. And the reason we do this is because we recognize that not only does the important substance of the workshop get transmitted during the workshop sessions, but it's also during our long breaks, our long lunches, when the networking and the connecting oftentimes happens. We also ensure that the workshop is an acronym-free zone because people are coming from many different organizations and backgrounds. It's really important, if we're going to connect and understand each other, that we use common language, which means full words. Also, each year for about the past decade, the workshop has been guided by a theme statement, as well as an enduring commitment to continue to assess challenges, progress, as well as to take stock of recent events that have, in some cases, changed the trajectory of our field. We also, as you're going to hear today, now offer a multitude of session types, trying to represent that people listen, learn, and engage in many different ways. We also always try to reserve ample time for discussion, both because we recognize that everyone has something important to share at this meeting, and also because we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to connect with one another. For that reason, when people stand up to ask a question or to make a comment at the workshop, we ask that they introduce themselves first. Again, we make sure we have long breaks and lunches to fulfill that networking mission of the workshop. And then, while the workshop itself is now held about 10 miles from the University of Colorado Boulder in Broomfield, Colorado, because it is the venue that can hold a group of our size, and we're grateful to be able to be at the Omni Hotel in Broomfield, we do hold the barbecue on Tuesday evening in Boulder, which is, again, one of the longest standing traditions. Gilbert White used to round up workshop participants and put them on a bus and take them up to his ranch at some Sunshine Canyon. We can't quite do that given our size now, but we do always come to Boulder and have a very special event. So sign up early for that because the tickets always sell out. Next slide, please. Now, I just wanted to share a little bit about the guiding theme for this year's workshop, which is, as you can see on your screen, if you're able to see your screen right now, Stronger Together, Building Coalitions for Disaster Risk Reduction. I wanted to start at the end in some ways with this year's theme statement by underscoring that the ultimate goal of this year's workshop, which is going to be convened under this thematic banner, is to identify how we can unite more people around the cause of disaster risk reduction. This is absolutely urgent. So, at this year's workshop, attendees will learn about the pathways to building and sustaining coalitions, as well as the measurable outcomes that have resulted from these efforts in the hazard mitigation as well as the disaster risk reduction space. So we are encouraging coalition builders as well as people who are interested in forming coalitions, bringing together people and organizations that may not traditionally have worked together, but can see and rally around the common purpose of disaster risk reduction. We want people across this nation and around the globe who are already involved in these efforts or want to learn how to do it better to join us this June of 2026. So the keynote, plenary sessions, and a set of special thematic sessions at the 2026 Natural Hazards Workshop will examine several of the key components involved in coalition building. And so these include clarifying purpose. How do we get to a sense of purpose in the disaster risk reduction space? And then how does that serve as our North Star to guide the activities that follow? Bringing together a wide range of people that, like puzzle pieces, when fit together, can help bring diverse and important perspectives to the purpose. Forging partnerships, establishing inclusive processes, and importantly, measuring progress. How do we know that we're actually reducing disaster risk and getting at those root drivers of rising disaster losses? So, in the end, we want to walk out of this year's workshop with a sense of clarity about how we can develop larger, stronger, more diverse coalitions that share a common commitment to disaster risk reduction. And this is absolutely imperative in this moment where we're experiencing rapidly changing climatic conditions, policy contexts, and other contexts that are shaping the disaster risk that in many ways feels like it's outrunning us. And so this is our chance to really come together to talk about what we can do in response. And so with that, thank you. And next slide, please. I'm going to now turn this over to the team, and we're now going to cover a variety of topics around the workshop, how the idea submission process works, how the review process works, additional opportunities for getting involved, and so forth. And so with that, I'm going to go on mute and turn it over to the always wonderful Natural Hazard Center team. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that wonderful setup, Dr. Lori Peak. My name is Mary Angelica, and I'm at the Natural Hazard Center. Just also want to take a second to say I see a lot of the Bill Anderson Fund Fellows and alumni in the audience today. So welcome, and I'm very excited to see you all at the workshop this year. So for the Natural Hazards Workshop, there's ways you can contribute that align with the primary goals of what the workshop has set out to do for our community. The first is to share recent research, policy and practice ideas, and other information that can reduce that harm and suffering from natural hazards and disasters. So the sharing piece of new information, ideas, opportunities is a large part of what the workshop is about. The second is to generate those conversations. So as we think back to that theme, this like coalition building, but also idea generation across many disciplines, we talk about transdisciplinary research at the Natural Hazard Center, which is both different disciplines within our academic research, but also bringing in practitioners and other partners into these conversations in order to decrease those divides and promote learning from one another. So that's really at the core of what the workshop seeks to do. Next slide, please. So here I'm going to introduce our call for ideas. And as Lori so lovely introduced our theme statement on coalition building, we're really interested in submissions that align with that theme statement, especially in terms of disaster risk reduction submissions that focus on these five kind of key areas: the purpose, the why of coalition building and projects around coalition, the people, the who needs to be at the table and involved within these specific projects and programs, those partnerships, again, like how are we connected to one another and how we can build those relationships and trust, the processes at which ideas, programs, and other disaster risk reduction happens within the field, and progress we are making. This is such a great place to, brag about the great work you've been doing and the great coalitions that you've been building. And although we really highly encourage people to submit things related to our theme statement, you are not bound to only submit things related to our theme statement. We really want to hear about up and coming ideas, new relationships, new work, new policy. And if it doesn't align with the theme statement, we still really want you to submit because of the variety of speakers and ideas and concepts that we like to have at the workshop. So, as we like to say, other pressing hazard and disaster topics are incredibly strongly encouraged. Next slide, please. We have several different session types. Anybody who was here last year knows that we had some new session types that were different from the previous years, but we do still have some of our old and tried and true favorites. Excuse me, sorry. We always have our plenary sessions, which are open to the entire audience and focus on the themes for the workshop, but also hazards and disasters that have greatly impacted our community in the past year or very recently. We have full panel and concurrent sessions that happen simultaneously that focus on different topics and different tracks, which Carson will speak a little more about some of those things. We have training sessions which focus on teaching people how to use new tools or other ideas focused on training folks within the natural hazards and disasters field on new ideas and programs and tools. We have TED style talks, which are short little talks, 5 to 7 minutes that happen in succession with really engaging and wonderful Q&A sessions afterwards. We also have networking roundtables, which kind of really fits with our theme this year because those are focused on coalition building of different groups. And we have many more different ideas, and we're very open to any unique session types that you may have as well. So it's yours and our natural hazards workshop. So please submit your ideas. And now I'm going to pass it to my wonderful colleague, Carson McPherson Krutsky, to take over. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mary. Hi, everyone. I am a research associate here at the Natural Hazard Center and one of the fellow planners of the workshop. And so I'm going to share a couple tips in terms of submitting a successful submission. So, we have spent a good amount of time really trying to provide as much information for you as possible to ensure you have all the tools and information you need to submit information. So, please be sure to read the submission guidelines carefully. We encourage creativity. We read all of our review team who plans the workshop reads every submission that comes in, and so we are looking at everything you've put together and thinking about what's going to work best for the workshop each year. So we encourage you to tell a new and interesting story. As Lori mentioned, we have a very diverse audience at the workshop, so ensure you are writing your submission for that diverse audience. And then be sure to meet any of the criteria. So we do have word count limits. And make sure that you're just checking on spelling and grammar errors, as those do influence our review of the submissions. And we also encourage you to not wait until the last minute to submit. The call for ideas are open right now, and so feel free to start putting that together and submit it. And if you have questions for us, feel free to reach out at any time. We're happy to answer questions that you may have. Next slide. Okay, so a few reminders on dates and timing. Submissions are due January 7th, so you have a little bit less than a month to put your ideas together, and we do not accept late submissions or any submissions by email. So that is a firm deadline, and be sure to meet it. We will be hosting sessions in person only at the Omni Interlochen Hotel in Brimfield, Colorado. We have historically during COVID, we had some versions of the workshop that were remote, but we've found since our team is such a small team, now that we're able to have it in person, we really that's the best format for our workshop. We also want you to let you know that speakers do have to pay their own expenses for travel and registration, but panelists and speakers will receive a $50 discount off of the full registration price. And there are different registration options for students and retirees as well. Next slide. And actually, I think you can just go through this so it's all up at once. Thanks, Jen. So our selection process can sometimes be a little bit hard to understand for folks who are new to it. And so we just wanted to give an overview of how we select based on the submissions that we receive from you. So we have a workshop planning committee, and we will review and score all of the submissions that we get. And what we're looking for are, like I mentioned earlier, clear and novel ideas that are covering multiple perspectives related to a given topic. We really want to encourage ideas that are from really diverse perspectives so we can see that swath across the workshop. High quality, professional, and well-written submissions are encouraged. And then we also look at speaker expertise on the topic to see that it matches what you're planning on submitting around. We think a lot about how these conversations would benefit the field and are thinking about what kinds of conversations we're going to have together at the workshop. So be thinking about that too when you're putting your materials together. A good problem that we have is our workshop has gotten much popular and has grown over the years. But this also means that there's limited space. So we do our very best to make sure we can very carefully consider all of the submissions and we know how much time and intention it takes to put them together. And we do have limited space, so we have to make some hard decisions. And so we may score your submission well, but it may not go through to the end. So just know that we are looking at a variety of factors when we're reviewing the submissions that come in to decide what's ultimately going to get on the program. Next slide. And so I just wanted to briefly go over, we made a little visual of how our workshop team reviews your submissions when they come in, just to give a little more context on what that process looks like internally. So you guys have a good sense of what happens to your submission once you hit submit. So we gather all of those submissions as of January 7th, and we begin reviewing those. So we each review every submission and then look at how well it aligns both to the workshop theme, but then also broader trends in our field. Then we will categorize and identify which sessions ideas will fit best in the variety of session types that Mary mentioned earlier, such as panels, trainings, or roundtables, and also the topics that we're looking to address within the workshop. We often will receive submissions that were not submitted together, but they have similar themes. And so in these cases, we think about combining them together into a single session, even though they maybe initially were not submitted in that way. And so once we've really refined the session topics, the presenters, then we will notify everyone and then we'll identify moderators who will then work with each of the sessions to ensure that those sessions are successful. So I hope that gives a little bit of context for what that selection process looks like in terms of how we move forward once you hit submit. So I am going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jen for the next part. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carson and Mary and Lori. So now I'm going to talk about a little bit about the logistics and additional ways to participate in the workshop. Okay, so we also currently have open a call for abstracts for poster submissions. And so poster abstracts are due on February 6, 2026. We will have new poster guidelines this year, which is exciting because we're going to ask that everybody include a box on their poster that speaks to like research to practice or actionable guidelines about their research that they're presenting, depending on what kind of poster you're creating. And so we'll give those to anybody who was chosen to present their poster at the workshop. Poster sessions, we have 2 rounds of poster sessions. We have one on Sunday evening, July 3rd, or that's still July dates on there. On June 14th and June 6th, 15th, on Sunday and Monday of the workshop. So we will correct those slides before we put these online. Oh, looks perfect. Someone's correcting them right now. This is lovely. So we have 2 rounds of poster sessions. So you'll submit your poster abstract, and you'll either be assigned to Sunday night or Monday night. So there'll be 2 distinct poster rounds. You'll present in person. So while you can have multiple authors on your poster, you do have to assign one person to be the poster presenter that will be standing next to the poster in real time to answer questions that anybody has. Posters will be 4 foot by 4 feet and printed out prior to coming to the workshop. We cannot offer, sadly, printing services, but you'll have to bring the poster with you when you attend. And then we'll also ask for a PDF of your poster because we're going to make those available in our nifty little app, the Hoover app, and online so people can review your poster in their own time and refer back to it if they have additional questions in the future. And so all of that will be made available online as well. And then we also have, we do collect research and practice highlights when we have the portal open right now to submit abstracts for that. And that is not for presentation. That research and practice highlights are opportunities to share something new with members of the hazards and disaster community regarding new projects, programs, initiatives, local, state, national policies, and other noteworthy publications or things you want to share with our community. And so these are not for presenting, like I said, but they will be posted online for attendees to read. Okay. We also have, in addition to the Natural Hazards Workshop, which runs June 14th through the 17th, 2026, we have the Researchers Meeting, which runs from June 17th to the 18th, and the Practitioners Meeting, which is all day on June 18th. And so those 2 meetings happen simultaneously, and they both have their call for abstracts open right now, and they have different submission links. So please go to those web pages and find those submission links. Both of those abstract submissions are due on January 14th, 2026. So we'll hope you submit to those as well. Okay, and so for the research meeting and practitioners meeting, we have some numbers to share from last year as well. So in 2025, we had one of the largest researchers meetings we've ever had. We had 338 registrants, and there were 255 abstracts submitted, and we had 42 meetings, 42 sessions for the researchers meeting, which is a lot squeezed into a day and a half, but there's so much wonderful information that's shared. And then for the practitioners meeting, we had 68 registrants with 15 abstracts submitted. And then we had 7 meeting sessions throughout that day on that Thursday. Um, so, and thank you, Jessica, for creating those numbers for us. And then we have a few other workshop opportunities that are open and available right now. If you would like to get involved and have parts of your workshop registration covered, we have the student paper competition, which is a way to recognize students focused on hazards and disaster research. And the winner of a paper competition will receive a $250 cash prize, as well as registration to the Natural Hazards Workshop and the researchers meeting. So if you're interested, please tell your students. If you're a student, please submit. We do accept one undergraduate submission and one graduate level submission for the student paper competition. And then the volunteer program. Each year, the Hazard Center is honored to have the assistance of a variety of these bright and enthusiastic students that help make sure the workshop and associated add-on meetings run really smoothly. We have a great pool of students each year, and we're so thankful for them because we could not do the workshop without these wonderful volunteers. And the benefits of volunteering include free natural hazards workshop and researchers meeting registrations, free meals, and the opportunity to network with peers and respected professionals in the field. Okay, so just a little bit about the meeting logistics here. Registration is opening very soon, so hopefully this month, maybe even this week, we'll have registration open. And we hope that you'll register right away because we do offer an early bird pricing, which is $50 off the full registration price. And registration does fill up fast, so we do encourage you to register as soon as possible. Our max attendance at the Omni Hotel is 750 registrants, and so we do reach that number sometimes. So we want to make sure you get in fast. And then you can find all the information about cost and pricing for the different add-on meetings and everything on our website. And then we also have room blocks available if you want to begin booking your travel. So that's also on our website under the accommodations tab. And we have room blocks at the Omni Hotel, which is where the workshop is held. But we also have room blocks at the Renaissance Hotel and the Hilton Garden Inn. And so, from all of us at the Natural Hazards Center, we welcome you to another beautiful, sunny summer in Colorado, and we hope that you'll attend the Natural Hazards Workshop. And now we're going to open it up to any questions you might have. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can see everybody's faces if anybody wants to, let's see. Okay, does anybody have any questions out there in the Zoom world? Feel free to raise your
Actually,
hand. Yes, Carson.
Jen, I was wondering if maybe we could talk about a little bit more about the researchers meet, like who attends the researchers meeting versus the practitioners one, just for new folks who didn't, because I think that's an issue that comes up each year where there's some confusion about attending the main workshop versus the researchers versus the practitioners one.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a great question, Carson. Thank you for bringing that up. So the Natural Hazards Workshop, we have our big community of researchers, practitioners, policymakers. And when we go through that process that Carson was talking about putting together panels, we really are trying to put together ideas from a variety of sectors. So researchers on a panel next to academic or next to practitioners, next to policymakers, people really talking about the same issues from a variety of perspectives, where the researchers meeting is very much like you submit your abstract to present the research that you've been working on. So it's much more research focused. Practitioners, of course, and everybody else are allowed to attend. We encourage that, of course, but it is very research focused. They're more traditional paper presentations in that way. And then, as Carson, is there anything else you would like to add about that one? No. And then the practitioners meeting, which is run by the National Mitigation Association, no, National Hazards Mitigation Association. There we go. That is a practitioners meeting, but they are also open to researchers attending as well. And sometimes they have researchers that are speakers there. So if you really want to reach that practitioner audience, I would highly encourage you to submit an abstract to the practitioners meeting as well, because they do have that diversity within their meeting also. Okay, I see a question in the chat. They're moving fast. Hold on. Okay, Samuel, you have a question about the student volunteer program and the application process. Feel free to come off mute and ask your question.
Yeah, hi. Wonderful presentation. I had a question regarding the student volunteer application process. I was wondering if it's rolling or if there's any kind of penalty to waiting until January in order to submit.
There
I had
is,
a couple of
oh,
professors. Sorry, go ahead. I
no,
didn't
go
mean to.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
One of my professors is reviewing my blurbs for the application, and I just wanted to know whether there was any penalty to applying in January.
Yeah, great question, Samuel, and we're so happy you're going to submit. Nobody will actually review the applications until they are all submitted, so there's no penalty whether you submit now or you submit right on the due date. It won't change your likelihood of being selected. Okay. Jennifer has a question. Does submitting to the researchers meeting lock it in for the researchers meeting only, or could it be shifted to the main workshop days? That is a good question. It's actually more likely that it would go the other way. So you can submit to both the workshop and the researchers meeting as two separate submissions. We are looking for kind of a little bit different type of content for the workshop. And so sometimes if we get very research specific submissions to the workshop, we'll actually ask you to go and submit to the researchers meeting instead, and we'll have like a late link that you can apply to submit there. But rarely do we have people that submit to the researchers meeting that we pull into the workshop. But I would say submit to both if you're interested in submitting and presenting in both, and then we'll just see where you fall based on your
And
submission.
Jen, I
Yeah.
was going to add to that a little bit that we do the workshop and the researchers meeting really are distinct, as are the practitioners meeting. They really are distinct meetings in terms of everything we described today is really related to our progress and our process as the Natural Hazard Center team with organizing the workshop. We have two extraordinary leaders with the researchers meeting, Christopher Young and Kyle Breen, who have taken on the co-leadership for the researchers meeting, and we have a large organizing committee for the researchers meeting as well. And they go through a somewhat similar process in terms of their review of the abstract selection, building out a program for the researchers meeting. But if you submitted to your question, Jennifer, if you submitted a researchers meeting abstract, it really would be funneled to our researchers meeting leadership team. And there is like a separate registration for it. There's a separate program, as Jennifer T was saying, and everything. So they really are, even though they're held in the same venue and everything, they really are distinct in terms of what's going on under the hood, and even the mission and the purpose of the meetings is very different. In terms of the workshop really is about that integration of research and practice, and so we're looking for that kind of research with the potential for applications that's also driving science forward and so forth, as to where the researchers meeting is a much more traditional, like if you've been to a professional disciplinary conference, you're going to feel a little more like that in terms of your abstract submission. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that additional context, Lori. That's very true. And the people who are reviewing the workshop proposals aren't the same people that are reviewing the researchers meeting proposals, so those are very different. Thank you for that question. Okay. Next, I don't see any hands raised, so I will go to the next question. Marta has a question here about the philosophy of not allowing speakers on video from other countries or states, especially since so much raising work is being done in other countries. Marta, I understand, we completely understand the need there and the concern, and we've considered doing virtual years sometimes, but unfortunately, we just do not have the resources to do in-person and virtual together as a hybrid event, because it is a whole other planning layer to plan a hybrid event. So at this time, we can't do that, but hopefully in the future, we'll be able to have those resources to be able to do it. But there's a huge cost and a labor associated with that. Okay, and then we have Andawasi. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but that's a beautiful name. It says, is it possible to participate in two sessions, for example, panel and networking sessions? It is possible. Sometimes we actually try to have as many people as we can in the program, so as many voices represented across all of the different sessions. So we do try to only place one person on the program one time for the workshop. You could attend, you could be a panelist in the workshop and in the researchers meeting. That's completely fine, or the practitioners meeting. But we try to not have the same speakers across multiple sessions at the workshop, just to get as many people's voices included as possible. Okay, Lori already answered that question. Oh, thank you, Marta. Okay, any other questions? Things you would like to know about how the workshop is planned, or what it looks like, how to make it successful for yourself? Like I briefly mentioned, we are also having last year, for the first time ever, we had the Hoover app, which is an app that you can put on your phone or you can look at it on your computer screen, that assists in helping with networking, and it has the schedule and you can kind of interact with the sessions that way and leave comments and talk to everybody at the workshop. So we're definitely keeping that again for this year, which is really exciting. People seem to really love that last year.
I was going to follow up on the wonderful question that Anne raised in the chat about, on behalf of Dave Schwartz, who's been attending the last several years and has just been a wonderful addition, about whether we might have a disaster game night or a game night, and what if there's something creative or different that someone out there is, looking at the past year's agenda, or even looking at the session types that we described today. Is there a possibility for something different? And that's one of the countless beautiful things about this community, is every single year that we've hosted this workshop, we have done something different, whether it's a tour in a wildfire affected area or a game night as a sort of add-on, a trivia night add-on addition, this sort of serious games activity that I know Dave is really committed to. So just as Mary said, if you have in the chat, if you have something that you're thinking, I'm not sure, would this really fit for the workshop or the researchers meeting, or maybe it's just something entirely different that we may not have considered, please, please, please do reach out to us at our Hazard Center workshop email, which is included on the slides. We'll drop it in the chat, but reach out to us in advance via email, and let us know what you're thinking about. And then, as we noted during the presentation, we do really ask that everything come through the portal, because as this workshop has expanded and grown, it is just absolutely vital that we receive everything through the formal submission process at the end of the day. But again, before you submit, if you still have those kinds of very specific questions, like could you accommodate an evening session, send us that email, and then we talk as a team about what might be possible. Just so you don't spend a lot of time in the forum, you can always talk to us first. And that's why we've started doing these Q&A sessions, was actually at the recommendation of one of our graduate students who said, I found this kind of mystifying before I got to peek under the hood. And so that's why we do these sessions. You're seeing the extraordinary planning team on the screen right now. And so there are really real people behind this who will look at your emails and will respond. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, Lori, we do have a section in our
Yes.
online forum that allows for that if you wanted to write in, like, so you can choose the different types of sessions that you might be interested in, whether it's a training session or a concurrent session. But then there's also an area for you to develop your own type of session. If there's something really creative that you want to do, there's space for you to talk about that in the submission portal too. Great, thank you. And then Samuel has another add-on question about the student volunteer program. You want to come off mute, Samuel, and ask me and give me a little more detail about what you're asking?
Yeah. So CSU, my university, where I'm an MA student, has a kind of a process for requesting travel funds to conferences or registration funds. And I know as a student that gets waived, or a student volunteer that gets waived. And I was just hoping to find out what being a student volunteer might entail so that I can explain to them, because there's a whole board and there's a process for applying for them and things like that. And I was just wondering what it might entail so I could explain to them, what my role would be, as a student volunteer. It's just there are different tiers after I spoke with them, and yeah.
Yeah, great question, Samuel. Lori just dropped in the information from the webpage, but just to explain it a little bit more. So the volunteers, you just have to make sure that you're available from the Sunday morning that the event starts all the way through the end of the researchers meeting on Thursday afternoon. And the majority of your work is you're going to be assigned to different sessions, and so you won't have to be a volunteer in every session. The number of volunteers we have will span across different sessions. So you'll work with our volunteer coordinators, and they'll assign you to specific sessions. Sometimes they try to allow you to have the sessions that you really want to attend included. So sometimes your preference is part of it, and you'll attend those sessions. You make sure all the AV is working. You pass the microphone around. You make sure the speakers have what they need. If they need water, if they need anything as they're setting up their session, make sure all the computers are working and everything. So it's really that in-session time that you'll be volunteering and making sure that that question and answers go really smoothly and that you're passing around the microphone in the audience. And then just really helping out throughout the workshop in different ways, networking with people, talking to all the people that are presenting their posters in different ways. And so really being a hands-on person that's available throughout the whole workshop and really kind of forward-facing in terms of our staff and our volunteers and everybody. We're one big group, but we're there to really help everybody who's attending the workshop and make sure that we're present and available at all times. So you're just part of that community for the whole time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
of course. It's really fun. I volunteered when I was a graduate student as well, and it was one of the best experiences.
Yeah. My professor highly recommended the workshop. So
Great.
I'm
So we look
excited.
forward to seeing you.
Samuel, who's your professor who we owe gratitude to?
Professor O'Connor. She teaches the hazard class at CSULB that I'm in right now.
Oh,
Um,
oh, well,
I don't know if you guys know her. So yeah,
tell her
thanks.
thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? NHC team, is there things that we didn't discuss that are on the top of your mind that we could share with everybody?
Yeah, I just want to also add to Marta's point about international involvement. That even though we're not able to do with like our small team and our nonprofit status, get the hybrid options up and going, we do have a very strong international contingency that still does come to the workshop from New Zealand, Australia, Japan. We've had people from last year, I think Chile and Argentina, Canada. And so I know there is still cost barriers and also visa barriers for doing things in person, but we do actually have a pretty large international attendee group that comes to the workshop every year. And we do talk about international topics.
Thanks, Mary. And Sandra is pointing out in the chat that the Omni is a great venue to get to because you don't need to rent a car. You can actually take the Flatiron Flyer bus to Broomfield from the airport. And so it's a pretty easy way to get there and low cost too. Thank you. Oh, Shayna asks, is there a way to see all of the submission elements up front without completing the form as you go? That is a great question, and unfortunately not. We actually did just have to change our form from our website version to a Qualtrics version, and you can only put so many chunks of questions in at one time, so you can't have them all listed out at once. Sorry.
I wonder if it would be, it's a great question. I wonder if it would be possible to just make it into a PDF that we put up on the website, so people can see it, but it's
Yeah.
sort of here's the submission form at a glance. You have to fill it out or something that might, since we're in the midst of finals here at the University of Colorado Boulder, my mind is consumed with thinking about rubrics and guidelines and grading and submitting on time, all the things. And so I love that question too. And I wonder if we could do something like that so people could have a preview and an overview of what's to come.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
thank
idea.
you. Well, maybe as we are bringing this to a close, I wonder if we might encourage everyone again. If somebody could drop in the chat, please, please, please subscribe to updates through the Natural Hazard Center. We have both a dedicated list for the workshop, which is very important because that is when we pass out information about the guidelines. And big shout out to our science communicator, Anna Canny, who helps us to know the right amount and the right tone for communications and content. And so please sign up for the workshop updates, but we also do a lot of releases through our disaster research news you can use publication. And so we hope you will sign up so you'll see these opportunities and deadlines and additional clarification and updates coming through. And again, I'll turn it back over to Jennifer, who each year leads this entire workshop planning team with such grace and expertise. For any other closing reminders or comments you have, Jen. And thanks to the entire team and to everybody who showed up today. We're so grateful.
Yeah, I just want to thank you to all of the workshop planning team. You all are amazing, and it really takes a village to make this workshop happen every year. And it really is your workshop as the attendees, and you make it what it is. So we're very, very thankful that everybody shows up with such big open minds and hearts, and really gives their full attention to the matters at hand at the workshop every year. And so we're very grateful for all of you, and we can't wait to see you in 2026. Thank you.